Hello, everyone, and welcome to this first episode of our skills development workshop for Yes. Today, we have a very interesting topic to be discussed, large language models in epilepsy. And we have with us an active yeser from the United States of America, Dr. Irfan Sheikh. He's an assistant professor in the Department of Neurology, Division of Epilepsy at the University of Texas Southwestern Medical Center. He's the director of Adult Tuberous Sclerosis Program and an associate editor and assistant program leader for the Epileptic Disorders Journal internship program. He is also a member of the Quality Informatics Subcommittee section of the American Academy of Neurology, where he explores artificial intelligence and helps members gain an insight and understand these models. Welcome to our YouTube channel, Dr. Irfan. We're very happy to have you and hear from you about this topic.
Thank you very much. Let me just go ahead and share my screen, and I can just go ahead and get started. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, welcome everyone. So I'm Irfan Sheikh. Thank you very much for the introduction. This is a very interesting topic. As we all know, in the 21st century, we have now artificial intelligence that's now being brought up and being used in all aspects of life, including multiple medical and non-medical areas. So it's interesting to see how AI is being integrated in some of these areas, and its design is supposed to help make workflow more efficient. So it's not limited to its application in the scientific research area, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. So a brief outline, we're going to talk about what are exactly large language models, and we're going to talk about some basic concepts, some different types of large language models. We're going to briefly touch over some use cases for large language models, and then we're going to talk about what is exactly meant by human in the loop. And then finally, we're going to close up applications for the implication of scientific research. So what are large language models? Well, large language models are advanced artificial intelligence systems that can understand, generate, and analyze human-like text based on patterns learned from massive data sets of text data. They are neural network models. They're typically using transformer type architecture that are trained on vast corpora of text data, such as web pages, books, etc. This is all to learn language patterns and relationships. Large language models have a state-of-the-art language system that leverage deep learning and massive data sets to achieve human-like language understanding and generation capabilities. Promising applications and inherent limitations that require careful consideration. However, it's important to know that large language models, they have billions to trillions of parameters. These parameters allow them to store and apply extensive knowledge about language. They can perform a wide range of natural language processing tasks, such as text generation, translation, summarization, question answering, and analysis. Large language models learn through self-supervised training on unlabeled data, followed by fine-tuning on specific tasks using smaller labeled data sets. So how does it work? Well, this is a very basic and possibly oversimplification model for how AI natural language processing models and large language models are constructed. First, there are large data sets that are collected and put together by engineers and specialists. As you can see on the left side, structured data, text, voice data, 3D signals, and images data sets are used to train these AI models. And once the data set is put together, it is processed and undergoes a series of training models through AI-based algorithms. Then there is an output of data. So as you can see, the output of data from an AI large language model is just as good as the input data. And the adaptation process is where the fine-tuning of data typically comes in. This is where prompts are typically generated so that we can extract information and users can, or at least the large language model can identify objects at caption recognition, as well as question answering. So parameters. Well, in large language models, parameters, they refer to various settings or configurations that influence the performance and behavior of these models. Model parameters, for example, there are variables or weights within the neural network architecture of the large language model that are adjusted during training to optimize the model's ability to understand and generate human-like text. So as a model is trained on massive data sets, these parameters are tuned to capture the relationship and patterns in the training data. Hyperparameters, on the other hand, are higher level settings that control training process itself. These are learned rate, batch size, and regularization techniques, essentially. And then properly tuning these hyperparameters it's crucial for the effective training and preventing issues like overlifting or underlifting. When a large language model is used to generate text outputs, there are parameters that can be adjusted to control the characteristics of the generated content. This is referred to as generation parameters. So, for example, parameters like temperature can influence how deterministic or random text is generated. Architectural parameters refers to the architecture of the large language model itself. This includes the number of layers, the size of the context window, and the choice of the transformer architecture, which can be considered as parameters that impact the model's performance. So during the process of generating text outputs, there are decoding parameters that control how the model selects the next token, such as like top K or top P, and also sampling. These can affect the quality and diversity of the generated text. So while larger parameters counts generally indicate more powerful large language models. So the more parameters, the more variables you have, the more powerful large language model in theory you would have. The quality of the training data set and tuning of the various parameters are also super crucial for achieving an accurate and reliable performance for these models. And you need to have careful consideration of all these parameters when you're trying to develop and fine tune, and most importantly, deploying these large language models for specific applications for domains, including scientific research. So these are the various types of large language models. There are a vast array, especially now in academia and open source. There's almost triple-digit various types of AI models that are used for various different applications. It's this list right here. It's not exhaustive. There are new large language models that are being developed and released almost daily. There's no definitive evidence indicating which large language model is universally the most accurate, as the performance, again, can vary across different benchmarks and use cases, as well as their data input or the parameters that they're using. So again, these are just an overview of the different types of large language models are seen, and you can see this is basically the large language model broad center of the web, and you can see that as we get more and more out, our use case increases as well, and our understanding of large language models expands more and more. Specifically with text generation, embedding, classification, this is where most use cases rely at. And these are the various, number 3 is where various different types of most common AI models are present, like Dialog GPT or Sphere or Meta. So how can we leverage AI for scientific research? Can we do that at all? Well, let's take a quick example before we get into some use cases. But this is an example of one AI model called U.AI. So as a full disclosure, I have no affiliation or am being paid by any AI platform. But it's just interesting to go through and show you guys what some of these AI models are sort of capable of, especially when it comes to scientific research. So this AI model is called U.AI, and it's interesting that this AI model has a specific research button here. Not all AI models have this. So we click the research button, and now we're in the research tab. And then we ask it a question. We engineered the prompt: find me all the literature pertaining to large language models and neurology education. And this AI model now is searching for all the most common journals to review and look for large language models and neurology education. So it actually searches through some of the most common ones that we would typically see as neurologists, such as neurology. We go to PubMed, it goes through JAMA Network, News Medical, Springer Link. It's interesting, though, that we don't see any JM on here, which is quite interesting because, as we all know, New England Journal of Medicine is a quite reputable journal that does also publish neurological papers and manuscripts. So this is a little bit limited in terms of what it can do, although it is providing us a a understanding that it's searching through all these different databases, it's not comprehensive with the databases it's looking for. And that is partly due to our prompt, as we specified neurology education, with the keyword being neurology. So it's going to go through most neurology-based journals and websites. So this is the output that we get. As you can see here, we have an output that looks like this. We have summary of a report where it describes in somewhat detail of AI neurology education and practice. And we have an introduction part here, and you can see it's referenced pretty decently. And we also have different paragraphs formulated as well. Its ability to enhance clinical decision-making, addressing healthcare challenges, potential and limitations. What's interesting is that although our focus was on education, it also pulled up practice policies as well too. And it was able to do so by providing some pretty decent evidence. So that's one sort of way just to briefly introduce AI's capability. And we'll talk about some additional use cases as we proceed forward. But to briefly describe, AI has a potential for a scientific research in the areas of literature review and knowledge synthesis, its ability to write and content generate content, also has basic data analysis capabilities such as qualitative data analysis. Data summarization, data simplification, and insights are also present in its capacity. It can answer questions and information retrieval. It can augment creativity and innovation. It can also translate language of manuscripts. So let's take a look a little bit more carefully as to some of these potential use cases. So literature review and knowledge synthesis. So AI, it can rapidly review and summarize vast amounts of scientific research and even manuscripts. It can extract key insights. It can synthesize knowledge from multiple sources. It's able to accelerate literature reviews and help identify research gaps and opportunities. So this is one example of how we can leverage literature review and knowledge synthesis using AI model. So again, we asked the same AI model, U.AI, to list all the PubMed articles by me. And we see here all the articles that are listed. And again, it provides us with a very nice introduction and brief summary over my publications, which is contributing towards neurology education, clinical practice, and the topics include CT perfusion in neurology, EEG findings in various syndromes, and the implication of AI in neurological care. And then it has a brief conclusion as well. And on the right, it cites the various manuscripts that I've pushed in the past. I will say, because this is my own paper and these are my own publications, it was interesting to see from a firsthand perspective some of the discrepancies that are involved in this. There are some errors in knowledge, and we'll talk about that limitation. But even though I do have publications in CT perfusion, it's specifically focused not in neurology, but in the realm of ICU EEG monitoring, which is something that it basically not fabricated, but had an error in knowledge and an error in its inert training data set. So even though it was able to pull and summarize some studies, one, it's not comprehensive, and two, it is met with some limitations, i.e. errors in knowledge. So definitely rechecking the output is crucial before you implement this into your research data set and research design. So, well, AI can also write and generate content. So generation of initial drafts or research papers, and even grant proposals, reports, and other scientific content. Large language models can potentially increase productivity by providing a starting point for writing tasks. It can create an outline for scientific works. And again, some of the potentials for limitations include errors and fabrication. And one of the solutions is to have a human in the loop design. And I'll talk about what that means a little bit later on. So this is another example. We asked the AI model to provide an outline for literature review for the following topic: AI in EEG epilepsy education. And again, it goes through these various databases, specifically both ResearchGate, PubMed, and other journals, Science Direct, ResearchGate, etc. And what we get is this. We have on the left, literature review and a pretty good outline for how it is. Starts off with introduction and overview of AI and healthcare, AI neurology and epilepsy, EEG, epilepsy current challenges, and so forth. While this may seem like a very comprehensive outline and may want to implement it, it's interesting because I asked the question outlined for AI and EEG epilepsy education. I did not really want to focus much on healthcare aspects of AI, although that is another area where AI is being expanded to. So this is sort of erroneous information that was excluded. Not fabrication per se, but information that was not asked in its initial prompt. And then it sort of ends off with this. It does provide a sort of ethical and regulatory implications, and also concludes the outline by providing a highlight of the conclusion and some summary points. So AI can also be used for qualitative data analysis. It's able to automate tasks like coding and content analysis of qualitative data, such as interviewing transcripts or finding open-ended survey responses. It could also expedite the analysis process while maintaining flexibility compared to traditional methods, and very beneficial for descriptive analysis, i.e. the basic descriptive statistics that we would typically use of a given data set. It's actually far less superior than traditional computational platforms, however. So far less superior than SPSS, SAS, or PSP data sets. It can summarize data and also data insights. So it can summarize complex data sets, research findings, or technical information into plain language. It can improve accessibility and understanding for broader audiences. It can surface insights from large multimodal data sets to inform decision-making. So again, going back to my initial example where I asked AI to find me all of my own publications and my areas of research. And now I ask the AI model in the same prompt to go ahead and provide a summary of my work. And you can see that there's 2 paragraphs that are generated to sort of provide an overview of all my research projects and work that I'm actively involved in. It can also answer questions and retrieve information. It's actually quite intelligent for its most part, but it's able to provide researchers with relevant information from scientific resources in response to natural language queries. This is an example. For example, what is the mechanism of action of levetiracetam? That's a question that we asked the model. And again, it's looking through all these various databases, and the output of data is as follows. First, it provides a brief introduction that, Keppra is an anti-seizure medication with its efficacy in controlling seizures and has a very unique mechanism of action. And then it goes down further to state that it binds to SV2A receptors, which is a pretty reasonable response. Again, we asked the question, what is the mechanism of action of Keppra? And these are some additional mechanism of actions that are less commonly cited and tested on: inhibition of neurotransmitter release, modulation of calcium channels, effect on GABAergic and glycinergic systems, and then it provides a conclusion. So it is a pretty broad response for sure, and there are various resources that are implemented, embedded within the responses as well. But all of it may need to be checked for sure by a human or a researcher scientist that's actively looking through the data output. So that AI also has the ability to augment, create, and innovate. It has the potential to augment human creativity by suggesting novel ideas and propose alternative solutions and inspiring innovative thinking and scientific research. So one of the limitations, as I was saying before, is fabrication, hallucination, and errors in knowledge. This is an example of how AI can be used to not only translate, but it can also be used to summarize and simplify various data sets. So we have a manuscript. This is a practical clinical definition of epilepsy taken from the Chinese International League Against Epilepsy. And this is the definition, and we plug it into our AI model called Perplexity AI. It's one of these open sourced AI. And we get a response. We ask it to translate the Chinese, simplified Chinese text into English. And this is the response on the right that we get. Pretty reasonably translated, as you can tell. Now, if we are limited on time, or if this is a very high level, we would want to get a summary of this data that we have translated. So let's say the data that we're trying to translate over is very high level. and it may be outside the scope of our research question or interest. One thing that we can ask AI to do is to summarize the data at a more comfortable, more dumbified reading level. So then we ended up plugging in this prompt, and afterwards we see this response that is generated, and it says, I'll summarize the text and simplify it, and it produced this response, which is very reasonable, very straightforward. It says that in 2005, doctors defined epilepsy as a brain problem that makes people less likely to have seizures over and over. And then it describes a little bit more about, how this definition is changing and what are the new caveats of this definition. So again, a very simplified form of this complex text that was generated here and now summarized into brief bullet points 1, 2, and 3. So I've said this before, and I'm going to talk about it now. Human in the loop versus human out of the loop study design. This basically just means it's the level of human involvement and oversight. So for example, human in the loop implies that a human or developer plays a key role in not only the development, but the training and operations of the large language model system. The humans provide labeled data, domain expertise, and real-time feedback to guide and refine the large language model's performance. And through this continuous feedback loop is where humans would correct errors, provide context, and steer the large language models towards a more accurate output. It's important that a human in the loop approach, it acknowledges the limitations of the model, as well as addressing potential biases, factual inconsistencies, and lack of real-world context. And these are human experts, these are scientists, these are clinicians. They are tightly integrated in the process to ensure that the large language model outputs align with the domain knowledge and ethical considerations. This is in comparison to a human out of loop, and as the name implies, it's basically where the large language model operates largely independently with minimal or no human intervention during its decision-making process. Humans may have designed the initial system and set the parameters, but it's the large language models themselves that make the predictions and takes the actions autonomously, and it's based on its training data and programming. There's no continuous feedback loop. There's no real-time human oversight during the large language operation. It basically assumes that the large language model has been sufficiently trained and can reliably perform tasks without any human guidance. And this actually prioritizes speed and scalability and efficiency. So you can see that there may be some limitations with the output of data that's going to be generated. So speaking of limitations, data sets are used to train natural language processing models, and the output of information from the NLP, it depends on the quality of the data that was trained on. So for example, data that is not heterogeneous or biased and non-inclusive can affect the performance of these models' data output. Data sources, they may vary in terms of their format, their structure, their quality. This poses challenges for standardization efforts, documentation, efficiency tools, and analysis techniques. So incorporating AI into research setting brings with it innate risks for data security. Large language models that need to be rigorously tested before any patient data is used for training and testing. There are risks surrounding privately owned closed source and non-research large language models such as ChatGPT, BERT, Meta, because the information ingested by these large language models could violate data privacy laws or result in imprudent or unauthorized disclosure of confidential information. This is highly important when dealing with patient-sensitive research data. And it could also violate research protocols as well. So what is a solution? Well, I think a potential solution would be to have an AI algorithm that operates on an end-to-end encryption software that is compliant with the ethical standards of the research protocol and operate on a HIPAA-compliant system. Discrimination and bias. AI models, unlike humans, they do not have personal opinions, beliefs, or biases. However, it is possible for these models to generate biases that are present in the training data set. So this usually stems from biased language, stereotypes, or discriminatory attitudes that humans consciously or subconsciously impose on the training data set. This is then reflected in the model's output. So AI systems can only see outcomes as probabilities and trends. So the interpretation of these findings, it's left to the research scientist. And a major risk with incorporating these tools into the research setting is it may lead to either over or under analyzation of the data or an output of data that is not inclusive. It comes down to the research team and governing bodies to scrutinize any AI research finding before making the data set publishable. Some solutions, well, we can use diverse data sets. And we can have teams, i.e. the engineers responsible for collecting and training the models, training the model for fine tuning, to have the team and employees of programmers from different perspectives, cultures, races, and ethnicities. Medical teams, such as research teams and governing bodies, they must evaluate the AI findings before guiding decisions. AI should not replace the expertise and judgment of clinical scientists, statisticians, or healthcare professionals. While these advanced technologies aim to enhance efficiency and accuracy, it should be very much made that ensuring an effective collaboration between scientists and these tools is made. It's important to strike a balance between automation and human oversight, enabling scientists to validate and verify the outputs generated by these technologies. AI models, they also have the potential to have fabrication and hallucinations. When large language model invents something that isn't in the data set, that is considered a fabrication or hallucination. Another potential limitation is errors in knowledge, where models often or offer something that is incorrect. Faulty logic, where the large language model links ideas together incorrectly. Memorization, where basically the large language model is repeating verbatim phrases from the inert training data set. And lastly, another limitation to consider is the cost. Ensuring cost effectiveness and scalability are important for widespread adoption and long-term sustainability. We need to consider the costs associated with the infrastructure, the training, the data management, and the ongoing technical support before implementing this into your scientific research. So to conclude, consider the limitations prior to artificial intelligence, large language model implementation, scientific research. Consider all possible solutions to address the limitations, and consider a human-in-the-loop model for verification of all data sets and outputs in scientific research prior to publication of findings and prior to having AI function autonomously. And consider validation studies prior to the implementation of LLM models, prior to the utilization of these models within your scientific research protocol. Thank you, and I'll take some questions.
Thanks, Irfan. That was indeed very, very interesting. We have a lot of questions because we had a lot of registrations for this webinar. First of all, as AI comes into picture, the thing that comes up is privacy. So how safe is our data when we enter into for an open AI or any large language model? How safe is that information? Because it is sensitive patient information.
Yeah, I think right now there are some forms of open AI that you can purchase. For example, GPT-4 has a purchasable model that you can use for your own independent use case. They claim that it has end-to-end encryption software capacity. However, I would advocate that you look through thoroughly the online-based AI model website and the platform itself, and even reach out to the engineers themselves to see what sort of encryption software they have. Essentially, you want to make sure that it has some form of end-to-end encryption. If you're not too sure, and you're trying to leverage AI to simplify your data set, it may be worthwhile to tentatively leave out patient specific identifiers. That may be one way to go about it. If you're not able to get a research IRB protocol approved. Oftentimes, getting a protocol approved with utilization of AI or some of these other base platforms requires very scrutiny, and not only that, but often requires a very thorough, in-depth analysis and understanding of their encryption profile before you accept them into your protocol.
Sounds right. And so how reliable are the treatment recommendations that we get from such models? I mean, we all have tried that, and we've received a reply from these models that they are not medical advice. So how reliable are these treatment guidelines that they give us?
Yeah, it's a good question. So typically when I give this talk at the meeting, it mainly is surrounding a clinical perspective. But one example I can tell is we asked one of our engineers to generate a prompt that, what is a best treatment modality for a 25-year-old woman who is planning for pregnancy, seizure medication for their newly diagnosed juvenile myoclonic epilepsy. So the question essentially comes down to, you have a woman with epilepsy, she has JME, what is a preferred treatment choice? Okay, that's a pretty clinical question. And we got a response back saying that the initial treatment is valproic acid. Now, it's interesting because valproic acid, as we all, as epileptologists, clinicians, and neurologists know, it's a medication that can have deleterious and detrimental adverse effects to patients who are in the reproductive years, specifically women who are planning pregnancy with neural tube defects and whatnot. So it may not be a first go-to medication, but it's interesting because at the end of that answer, it did provide a disclaimer. Hey, I'm an AI model, and please discuss with your physician or doctor for additional information. So I would say that yes, juvenile myoclonic epilepsy, the drug of choice is, valproic acid, has really good evidence for it, sure, but it's not a medication I would typically recommend to a woman who's actively planning pregnancy. So there are some errors in knowledge, definitely. And again, it has to do with the data set that's entered into the model. So the data that's entered the model is probably from publications that are exploring the first-line treatment for JME, or the best mode of treatment for JME, which is valproic acid, and using that as its output. But it's not taking into the clinical perspective of what I'm dealing with here. Okay, I have a patient who has epilepsy, JME, but she's also planning pregnancy. Depakote or valproic acid may not be the first-line agent. I may want to pursue other modalities such as levetiracetam or lamotrigine. So I think that it's not able to operate autonomously.
In the
may
loop.
be like human in the loop design, definitely, or in this case, a clinician in the loop design. So
yes. And so then it comes to the next question: how do we tackle the fabrication and hallucinations that AI comes with?
yeah, so this has to do with the fine-tuning aspect. Remember that beginning slide I showed you where you have data input and you have data output? Has to do with the fine-tuning aspect of it. So that's where we have to design our prompts. And there are actually specialized prompt engineers that are able to design specific prompts that are able to tackle your use question to help limit fabrication and hallucination as much as possible. So essentially, it's having a decent prompt engineer on your team.
Right. And this question is from Belgium. It's from one of the epilepsy researchers. They have asked that, how do I improve my research question using AI?
Yeah, again, good question. It all, again, has to do with the prompt engineering. So you have a question, you have a template of a question, okay? Now, if you want to formulate that question a little bit better, you have to have a prompt engineer who's able to modulate that prompt and to generate an output answer that's appropriate for the suitable case. So essentially, it's that fine-tuning process that I was talking about. And it may also be worthwhile to have an up-to-date AI-based platform, because not all AI-based platforms are trained using the most up-to-date data sets. So for example, ChatGPT, even GPT-4, it's trained up to data sets all the way up until 2022. So 2023 and 2024 are not included. So you have to look online to see which AI model has the most up-to-date training data set. And then that, including with your prompt engineering and fine-tuning, you'll be able to modify your question.
Wow, that was a really informative session. I think that's it from the questions. Thank you so much for this talk. And I think if people do have more questions, they can reach out to you on your email address, right?
Absolutely. I don't know if they have it, but we can definitely include it, right?
Yes, we will include it in the caption.
Definitely. All right. Thank you very much, everyone.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Yeah. Okay, Irfan, a couple of questions.